Good evening. This Town of Adams Board of Selectmen meeting on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 is now called to order. Please note that tonight's meeting is being recorded and televised live by Northern Berkshire Community Television, channel 1303. If anyone else is wishing to record any portion of today's meeting, please let the chair know at this time. I do not see any hands raised, so just community television. All right, with that, if everyone can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. For the board to note, item E, April 17th, that was aspirational at the time of printing of the agenda that we would have those minutes finalized. They have not been. So we would just be taking up items A, B, C, and D, which is the April 2nd Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee Joint Workshop, the April 3rd Board of Selectmen meeting, the April 4th Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee Joint Workshop, and the April 11th Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee Joint Workshop. In reviewing the minutes, it does look like all members of the board who are present this evening can vote on all four sets.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes from April 2nd, April 3rd, April 4th, April 11th, and April 17th.
Not April 17th.
We're not doing that one, so the 4th, April 11th, and accept them as written.
Okay, I have a motion by Howard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a few things that needed to be taken care of. I noticed you got the first two recorded. You changed that on page 1, and you also increased.
Joe, can I ask the date of the minutes?
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, the one I have originally doesn't have the page numbers. Okay, this one is for Tuesday, April 2nd.
Thank you.
2024.
Yep.
And so it would be, the start would be on page 3 under the heading Town Clerk. Third sentence down, it says, well, it should be, has gone up $100, and then conference and travel has gone up 4. So I don't know if the 4 should be there, FORC in the third sentence. And on page 4, I think these are just small changes. Under the heading Selectmen, the topping, the executive assistant salary, and in the second sentence of that individual provided their letter of recommendation. I would think it should probably be not their, her letter of recommendation. That's just, that is okay.
The word individual is gender neutral, so I use the gender neutral
Okay.
pronoun to accompany it.
Okay, very good. Then on page 5, under Town Accountants Department, second sentence, additionally, there was an increase, the audit budget. So there's a word missing between increase and the.
Okay.
And that was that for that one. And then if you go to April 3rd,
Okay.
page 4, appointment of temporary town clerk. The name Rowley is spelt wrong. It's Rowley at the very bottom. Yep. And let's see.
That's my error, sorry.
No.
And on page 2 of the April 4th meeting minutes, page 2, 4th paragraph, member Novak asked why Colliers OPM for the Greylock Glen hasn't present. It should be presented. You have that, Bree?
Got it.
Yep. And That's as far as I was really able to read and digest what I did, so those are the changes I'm alluding to.
Happy to make those.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Howard, would you make your motion with the changes?
Just change the motion to accept those changes.
Okay. And John, do you second that?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to public comment this evening. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak to the Board of Selectmen? Sure, if you could please come forward, state your name and your address.
Good evening, my name's Eddie Winarski, 77 years old, lived in Adams all my life. I live on 61 East Hoosick Street, and my parents bought that place when I was 5 years old, and I've been there ever since. And I hope you board members could help me resolve this problem I have. For the last 2.5 years, I've talked to Mr. Green, I've talked to Tim, and I have gotten nowhere. When I say 61 East Hoosick Street, when you go up East Hoosick Street, there's a cement retaining wall, and at that end of that cement retaining wall, you gotta take a sharp right, and there's a dirt road. There's 2 houses back there, mine and my neighbor's. And when you go on that road, there's guardrails that are very, very dangerous, deteriorated. You can see the rebar, they're at a 20-degree angle. And I know there's traffic, but not that much. But if a car ever went down, it'd go over that embankment into East Hoosick Street. Now, I've been told, I've been lied to, ignored. I've been told by Tim, when I first brought this up, and I just shook my head because he said, well, we'll get a come-along up there and pull them with a come-along. Number one, there's no trees there to hook a come-along on. Number two, I mean, these are like this here. You can see the rebar in them. Last year, I was fortunate to have one of your board members help me out, and he addressed Tim about the situation, and he was told by Tim, oh, the guardrails are being cut as we speak right now. That's probably 9 months ago. And not only that, the board member got an email, and it wasn't pleasant, saying the road is a private road. I've been there since I was 5 years old. That road has always been taken care of. And number two, there was a paragraph. You know, you get more honey with bees than vinegar. And I know they were talking about me, but after 2.5 years, not returning phone calls or saying, well, he's in his office, I'll transfer you to him. Oh, he's out on the road. You know, and that's not 2.5 years. And they go up there with a loader and scrape the road. There's nothing else to scrape. I begged for some fill in that road. They scrape it, one day it rains, and it's all potholes. I mean, you got asphalt that they, when they redo the roads, and I'm sure I talked to people that work on the highway department, and they said they have piles of that. They could bring that up there and straighten that road out. I mean, been paying taxes for, 72 years up there. What do I get? Broken down guardrails, and they had to be put in by the town. So I appreciate it if you selectmen can help me out with this problem.
Okay. There's a couple of things that you mentioned that we'd have to get clarified by town council. You mentioned about a designation of a private road, so we would have to get that determination, as well as we'd have to check on the work that's
Well,
been
how did the
done.
guardrails get there?
I can't answer any of those questions, so I'd have to refer it to town council.
Oh, it's always been taken care of since till recently, with the, you know, the new supervisor on the highway department, and that road has always been maintained.
Yeah, I just have a comment. I've known Eddie for a long, long time, and he's brought this to my attention. And it seems to me that someone who has lived in their home for so many years and have been promised that there's going to be, because I was told that they were cut, the pressure treated ones to replace. And that was a while ago, and I don't know, it's just, I don't know, it's hard to decipher all of this kind of stuff, if it's something that because someone is who they are compared to someone that may have things done because they're someone else. And I'm just saying that this has been a promise for a long time, has been mentioned, and nothing has been done but people talking back and forth. So Eddie asked me when the next meeting was, and I obliged by telling him it was today.
But I like to, I mean, I don't want to go any other route. I like to get this done within you people in the community. But if nothing's going to get done, I'm going to have to get a hold of the state or my representative or something. I mean, them guardrails are very dangerous. And they can't be pulled up with a come along.
Thank you.
I thank you very much for listening to me.
Yeah, just one question. Does the town plow that road?
They plow it, yes.
Okay. All right.
Plow it, sand it, salt it.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else under public comment this evening? Okay, hearing, oh, go ahead. Please come forward and state your name and your address.
My name's Charles Foster. I live on Murray Street in Adams. And I'm just back again. I missed the close of the budget season. And I still have a lot of questions about the budget. I know you can't answer questions here or anything. I always say, come in and see me. And you really can't do that. After we come in and see you, you gotta report back to your board what you learned or whatever, which you do quite often. Well, if the question's asked in public, better have it answered in public. Bring the answer back to whoever it was answered. And, well, on a better note, lighter note, last night when our new candidates met, it was pretty informative. I liked all of them. Mr. Duval did very well. He knows what's been going on the last 7 years. And it was a nice mix of people. And the only question I really have about the budget has to do with the reserve fund, and I don't know if the capital reserve fund still exists. If it does, I don't think it should be used at all. It has no checks and balances. You have voted to let Mr. Green spend it. I don't know when the board can approve spending by any town member. That goes with the finance committee. He doesn't need approval to spend that money. He can spend it any way he wants. You can call it a miscellaneous account. He has total control over it. Now, $160,000. And I'm sorry. He should not have that control.
He was granted that control by town meeting, which also had some clear specifications as to how that money would be spent. It would be on capital items for the buildings and facilities of the town of Adams. So
Okay.
it did go through not only the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee, but it also went to town meeting, and
Yes, it
150
did.
people voted in favor of it unanimously.
It's totally unnecessary. Add that money to the reserve fund. You gotta go before the finance committee to spend that money. Plain and simple.
And Mr. Foster, you were at the workshops where it was reported out how the money was spent and how the money would be spent. And that information, if you wish to have it, could be made
That's a
available
balance
to you.
sheet account. The budgets are about revenues and expenses. They get zeroed out every year. This account does not get zeroed out. The reserve fund goes to the stabilization fund, which you're trying to protect. This money balances, carries forward. It has no business being in the budget, with just a single person controlling it. 60,000 went to the wastewater treatment plant, the geological study, and the park down at Hoosick Valley Coal and Grade. He does not need permission from anybody to spend it.
That is correct. He does not, however, Mr. Green did come to the Board of Selectmen for all of those
Or an
expenditures.
endorsement,
And we did endorse those.
approval, not permission.
I
You need
understand.
permission from the finance committee. All you gotta do is move that money to the reserve fund, and there's no problem with it. It serves the exact same purpose. They're both funded by free cash. You'll see in your articles tonight, last year, $75,000 going to the stabilization fund. The new $175,000 coming in from free cash. You'll never get a free cash number because it's not certified. But out through the budget, just to add up all the numbers that are being used for free cash, I haven't done it, don't have to, it's a lot of money. But what is that number? You had to give the state a number to start with to be certified.
Yep.
That's probably the number that you're using for your budget. What is it? What's the big deal about revealing it? It's not certified, you tell us it's not certified. It may change. But you ask anybody in the town or the school for public records, and you need to, you gotta get a court order to have them reveal it. It's public information, and it's due for anyone that asks for it.
We will be reporting out on our certified free cash number later on in the agenda when we talk about our fiscal '25 capital. So that number unfortunately came in at after the workshops had ended, and this is the next opportunity that we would have to go over that free cash number.
And that'll be used next year's budget.
Yes, in the fiscal '25.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll review that a little later in the agenda.
And wastewater treatment plant, how it's going to be handled, coming off the taxes, becoming a fee. That is not a good idea.
We haven't addressed that.
Well,
When we do,
I have, so have
invite you to
people in
come
the
and talk to
town.
us.
and when you decide it, well, if we agree, I won't be around. But if we disagree, I'll have some questions.
Thank you.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else under public comment? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Under old business, the town clerk did ask me to remind everyone that the annual town election is coming up on Monday, May 6th. It is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Adams Memorial Building located at 30 Columbia Street. So please go out and vote. And all of the information, she has reminded me, sits on the town's website, including the specimen ballots for Monday's election. I see that she's in the audience, so I don't know if there's any board members who have questions about Monday's election, but I could bring her forward if you did. Hearing none, Haley, you are off the hook. So we'll move on to new business. Item A, Mr. Meswar has asked for some time this evening to talk to the board about the community cleanup day that just took place over the weekend. So Jay Meswar, if you wanted to state your organization and the organizations that worked with you.
Yeah, Jay Messelward, Northern Berkshire Events Committee. This is my favorite thing to talk to you guys about every single year now. Second year doing the annual spring cleanup for the town of Adams. So our group worked with the Adams Beautification Group, which is a great group of members that are helping clean up and beautify some of the areas that sometimes get overlooked in town, happens, as well as Second Chance Composting, John Pitroff and his group. I'd like to report that we had, in a group photo, 54 people that attended. So a huge turnout, twice the number we had last year, and other people came in sprinkling in throughout the day. We had a number of area groups, the Berkshire Scenic Railroad, Lions Club, Leo Club, all attended. There was a lot of cool groups that were there, and we'd like to thank everyone that showed up for that day. Great weather. I can report on a couple of the areas that we touched. The roundabout at Renfrew Park, 7-Eleven. A lot of the daylilies were replanted and kind of shifted around. There's a lot of overgrowth that happens in that area, so we're able to clean up a lot of that. The War Memorial Park out in front of the middle high school, depending on your age, but there was a lot of compost coming out of there. About 80 lawn bags specifically came out of that area. There's still some work to be done there. They were raked, but we ran out of bags. And ran out of time, truthfully. The Sail Park next to where AJ's is on Pleasant Street, that was cleaned up again this year. There wasn't as much that we needed to do there, but it was great. As well as the flower beds by the visitor center and the train depot station. On top of that, there were areas that were raked. Mill Street along the fence line was raked. Unfortunately, ran out of bags to pick those up. So they're still out there, guys. But there was other areas that people branched off to, including their own neighborhoods, came, picked up bags, and went to their own neighborhoods. Overall, I can report this year that there was about 98% compost versus 2% trash. Kind of doing the math out, there's about 15 bags of trash, but they were not completely full. Areas along the Hoosick River were picked up. There's people that went Hoosick Street, Winter Street, Summer Street. So we thank all of those volunteers. We removed over 100 lawn bags of compost, averaging about 40 pounds a piece. You're talking about 4,000 pounds of compost. So that was pretty incredible to see that moved. So I'd like to thank John for his work with that. And we hauled a giant trailer that he had, a 6-foot trailer with a 15 feet long, completely full. So I'm happy to report it was a successful day, and we're looking forward to do it again next year.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
And I know
that's
Mr.
great.
Novak reached out. He wanted to also thank you, so I'll let him start.
Yeah.
Yeah, once again, thank you so much. It means so much to have people coming into town on our main thoroughfares and seeing things look neat, and it certainly did. And want to thank you, and I know the beautification group will continue during the year, keeping those things up. And once again, kudos to you and everyone else, because it sure makes a difference.
Absolutely. I'm the lucky one that gets to talk to you guys, but obviously there's a lot of other people that were involved. So, we thank you guys for letting us being able to do that, and it's just fun.
I did East
You're welcome.
Hoosick Street, down to the river, and I did the whole stretch. And I had the bag out for days on East Hoosick Street, but no one picked it up. So
Oh, no.
I had to haul it down myself. But, Yep.
Yeah, we had
Thank you, that's all I'm gonna say.
well, that was great. Yeah, we actually had some people on Glen Street too who did the exact same, and they got rid of it on their own, but they reported they had 3 bags.
Yeah.
The little nip bottles, a lot of that stuff, unfortunately, and some other stuff, but that's great. No, thank you guys.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Joe.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Anyone else? Yeah. Thank you. I heard you were the unlucky one loading the compost bags.
It's good to fix myself.
Okay, good. Excellent, thank you. All right, so item B, facility use request for Adams Fall Run to use Bow Field on September 28th, 4:30 to 6:30 PM, 29th all day and the 30th from 10 AM to noon. Bree, do you want to walk us through this one?
Yeah, so if you all remember previous years, usually the fall run would, the motorcycle ride, they would take off and they'd come back to Bow Field and they'd have a bit of a celebration there. Last year, they mixed it up. They left from Bow Field and then landed at a separate location out of town. That is the format they will be following this year. So this isn't bands and food and drinks. It's just sort of a meeting spot. The police department has already been made aware. So the reason that you're seeing 3 days, September the 28th from 4:30 to 6:30, they're just gonna clean it up a little bit, set up, make sure that they have everything ready to go. Then all day on the 30th, they want use of that space just so that they know that it's secured. And then from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. On the last day. It was just to do any cleanup and make sure that nothing gets left behind.
So the meeting is happening on the 29th or the 30th?
The 29th, sorry, I apologize. So 28th setup, 29th fall run, 30th cleanup.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Do we- yeah,
I'll make a
okay.
motion to approve facility use request for the Adams Fall Run Corporation to use Bow Field on the September 28th from 4:30 PM to 6:30 PM, all day on the 29th and 30th, and on the 30th from 10 AM to 12 PM.
I have a motion by Howard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any discussion?
Yeah, just one quick comment. I'm very happy that they're going to leave from Bowfield and not come back and have drinks, because I believe strongly that alcohol and motorcycles certainly don't blend well. So I'm happy that where they're going to go, I don't know, and I actually don't care, but as long as they're not drinking down at Bowfield in case something happens when someone leaves. And that's just a comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is unanimous. I'm going to turn things over for item C, all of the licensing requests. I do serve on the Adams Theater Presents 501c3 nonprofit organization. Although the requests here are for Adams Theater LLC, I have not filed that disclosure, and I've not gotten the confirmation from my attorney yet about how to file that disclosure, so I am just going to recuse myself from all discussions on the licensing this evening. So I'll turn things over to Howard.
Okay. So I have in front of me a license request from Valley Fair to serve at the Adams Theater on May 24th from 6 to 11 PM. So moved. Any discussion? Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. It's approved. Bounty Fair is requesting to serve the Adams Theater on Sunday, May 26th, from 5:30 to 10:30 PM. So moved.
Second.
Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
All against? It's unanimous. The Berkshire Cider Project to serve at the Adams Theater on Friday, May 31st, from 7:30 to 10:30 PM. What is the pleasure of the board? I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, but I have a question, just out of curiosity. What is the Berkshire Cider Project? I'm not familiar with it. Is anyone, okay. Yeah.
So I think, it's funny, I think maybe you asked this last time, they came up, but they are located in the Greylock Works mill, and they make hard cider.
Yes, I yes.
Lovely.
That.
Yeah, not too far away from here.
Okay, thank you
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
clarification.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It's unanimous. The Berkshire Cider Project request to serve at the Adams Theater on Saturday, June 1st, from 4 PM to 10:30 PM. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All against? It's unanimous. The Berkshire Cider Project to serve at the Adams Theater, Friday, June 7th, from 6:30 to 10:30 PM. What is the pleasure of the board? So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously. And finally, regarding the Berkshire Cider Project, on June 8th, 2024, from 7:30 to 10:30. I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
All for? Aye.
Aye.
All against? It's unanimous. Okay. Moving along, the final one is the common vic license for M&J's Taste of Home, 53 Park Street. How is the board? What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve the common vic license for M&J's Taste of Home, 53 Park Street.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous, and we grant the vic license, common vic license. Welcome back. I have.
Went out with a bang.
We'll let you use it again, Linda.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Howard.
You're welcome.
So under new business, item D, the fiscal '25 capital. I see a memo here in our meeting materials, but Mr. Green, if you want to walk us through that.
Sure, we'll have Crystal pop on up.
If you don't.
You'll see in your packets this evening, you have a memorandum from myself, but also following right behind it, you'll see the Department of Revenue Division of Local Services free cash certification sheet. That gives you the full calculation for free cash that was referenced earlier. Crystal can walk you through that first.
Ms. Foster, can I ask?
Ask you to put this off until you can put it on the agenda in a way that makes people understand what you're going to discuss.
I appreciate what you're asking for, but I do believe that it is clear. So thank you. Yes, Mrs. Adele.
Okay, so, hello. Our free cash certification came in on April 12th from the Department of Revenue. We began with an unreserved, undesignated fund balance of $1,493,733. They deducted personal property tax receivables for $7,375, real estate tax receivable for $466,591. They then deducted any other outstanding receivables for overdrawn grant accounts that didn't get reimbursed before June 30th, that type thing. So the total amount of what was deducted between all the grant accounts, tax title fees, things like that, police details, was $277,023. And then they added in deferred revenue that we were expecting after June 30th of $172,391, which gave us a total free cash calculation for 2023 of $915,135.
So with that number being said, consistent with previous town practice, we take that number, divide it in half. Half of that stays in the undesignated fund balance that carries over, and that leaves us with $457,567.50 to spend for this year. The Board and Finance Committee has already approved $250,000 of that amount to be put towards the tax rate. You'll see that in the memorandum I sent you as well. And that leaves us with $207,000 to fund this year's fiscal year 25 capital infrastructure and equipment outlay from free cash. So you see in my memorandum that I note that although not a robust amount to fund all the items that we would like to spend this year, the following items are before you this evening for recommendation for your approval for this year. This money is outside the budget. It goes in, it's approved by yourselves as a town meeting warrant article, and then is approved for endorsement by the Finance Committee, and then is approved for expenditure by town meeting. So at $207,000, a number that goes really fast these days, you'll see that we're recommending the board approve the spending for this year in that amount. First item up would be recommended to spend $100,000 on public buildings and facilities. This request is for a variety of small improvement projects for town-owned buildings. Based on the unpredictable nature of the bidding environment, not all projects listed here may be accomplished, but may include masonry work, HVAC needs, electrical plumbing improvements, roof repairs, painting, water infiltration repairs, etc. This is identical language to what you found, I believe, 2 fiscal years ago, not last year, a year before. Same amount of money. This will be in Mr. Gardner's budget. Jerry is here tonight. If you want to ask him any questions as to what you think that money might be spent on. It's not feasible, and Jerry can explain this, to give you an exact project that we're going to spend it on. This allows Jerry to make a determination what needs need to be addressed, and what can we afford at any given time. So I'd like to remind everybody, you're speaking about the fiscal year 25 budget in May 1st of 2024, and this money will be available to spend a year from now. So it's very hard to be able to say the cost of repairing a water infiltration problem is going to be this exact amount. So this is a process that we used 2 years ago. We've only put money into, really good money into public buildings, albeit not enough in the last 2 years. But if any questions, Jerry can give you his wish list, which will probably exceed $100,000, but he can give you a rough idea of where some of that money might go, and frankly, where some of it has gone from the previous year. And then last year, we had that 160. We didn't do 100 last year, we did 160 last year. That 160 was in the town administrator's budget because town meeting approved, and you, in addition to using it for these purposes, we could use it for additional projects such as engineering and design, knowing that we had a lot of other large projects open at the time. We're not asking for that this year. We're going back to what we did 2 years ago, which is simply for publicly owned buildings. So if anybody wants to ask Jerry, he's sitting patiently over there.
I just have a comment, excuse me.
I was going to say, you could go through the rest and then maybe save comments, or
Yeah, we can do it. We can go through
or do you want to go with the
balance of it.
question right now?
Well, I just say that any money we put to in our public buildings is money well spent.
Yeah.
Because I think we've been derelict in the past and letting these type of things slide, thinking, well, we'll get to it next year, and next year comes and nothing happens. So anything we can do to upgrade our buildings, because the more you let them go into disrepair or knowing things that need to be done and you don't do them, it comes and bites you down the road.
Well, that's right, Mr. Novak, and as Mr. Foster adequately, commented, in years prior to us having this money available for building projects, any issue that came up was treated in a reactive fashion, which forced us to use that reserve fund of $175,000. That money is better spent, frankly, going into the stabilization fund for future use. So with discussions with the select board and discussions with the finance committee, we feel it's better to have $100,000 to be able to do these projects in a proactive manner and start developing capital repairs in advance of problems happening. Same thing with the sewer enterprise fund. No matter how it's funded, whether it's a fee or whether it's a tax levy, that money can be spent at the wastewater treatment plant in a planned manner using an asset management program rather than a reactive fashion. So that's what the goal is for that. Jerry's done HVAC work with previous funds. HVAC work in this building, that's been a liability for the town. However, there'll probably be some projects, frankly, we won't be able to touch. The chimneys in this building need to be done. Last estimate we had about 2020 was $55,000. We can only imagine what that is today. The marble steps on either side of the building need to be done. We had an estimate for 120, Jerry?
Or around 250.
So there's still a lot of stuff that we can't get to. We have to look for available grant funds. Those aren't always necessarily available, but at least we can chip away. Moving down the memorandum, $30,000 to be placed in the Board of Selectmen's budget. Pete, listen up, this is for you. This request is for the design, purchase, and installation costs for technology improvements to the Selectmen's Room of Town Hall in conjunction with Northern Berkshire Community Television Corporation. You jumping for joy there, Peter?
There was some excitement from the town clerk, too.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, all right.
The post-COVID world, for example, we had a presentation from Matt, who was our project manager for Colliers. That was very handy. He's not from the Berkshires. He's about 3 hours away, so it was easy for him to zoom in. In the past, when we've had consultants or engineers or those types of folks presenting to the town, we've been charged travel and lodging. So this way here, with a Zoom option, we're able to save money that way, but at the same time, we have an obligation to be sure that not only can the board see what's happening on the screen, but also the gallery. This room is originally a living room. It is the Plunkett family's living room, and is not designed really for this purpose, but with some thought, conjunction with Dave and Pete and the staff at NBCTC, we're pretty confident we can come up with a good plan to modernize the technology, get rid of the tripod, put up some wall-mounted cameras. Pete is a pretty good director. He can do different camera angles. If the cable contract goes through, might be able to get some high def. So it's time that we spend that money in order to do that. That estimate was put in conjunction with Dave Fabiano. We're hoping that maybe in the cable contract, we'll be able to put some costs, from that in there too, but we need this money in order to do it ourselves in case that doesn't come through. Moving down, $32,000 for DPW to purchase a replacement stainless steel dump body for one of our 2005 International dump trucks, number 36. Recent investments in that truck have been made to the turbo, transmission, clutch, and hydraulics. The vehicle is used for winter and summer work. The existing dump body on it has rotted and is unsafe. In fact, years past, one fell off while it was in the middle of the road. We'd like to avoid that from happening again. So in this situation, we're requesting $32,000 to replace the dump body on that existing vehicle with a stainless steel body. Win number 36 is retired with an estimated lifespan of probably an additional 5 to 6 years. The stainless steel dump body can be removed and placed on a new truck that we buy. Estimated replacement cost for a similar vehicle, which you may be wondering why we're going to do this to an almost 20-year vehicle. A replacement cost for an identical vehicle, brand new, is a little over, estimated to be about $205,000. The town in the past has purchased those types of vehicles using Chapter 90 money. And as a reminder, I'd like to get this in everyone's head, we only get about $280,000 a year in Chapter 90, and we use that for a variety of different purposes. So by spending $32,000, we can extend the life of the truck, maximize the investments already made in it. We'll need it for the paver when we place that into service this summer. It's also the truck that plows some of the other areas of town. So that came up, and DPW Maintenance is recommending that repair. One other item, $30,000 to DPW for the purchase of a hydraulic post mower attachment. This is for use on existing equipment, and this attachment will automate the mowing under and around fence poles, guardrails, along roadsides, etc. This process in the past has been manual, performed with hand equipment, and by seasonal labor. Prime example that I can give you as to where this would be used is coming inbound to town on Route 8, Grove Street Bridge. In that area, there's some guardrails in there. During the summer, you'll see the orange caution signs up. They say men working, and you'll see the bright orange shirts. Those are seasonal laborers weed whacking away on there. This will completely automate that process with a piece of existing equipment. To show you how we're leveraging some of this equipment, about 2 years ago now at this point, we received a state grant to purchase a skid steer, colloquially known as a Bobcat. We bought a milling head for that, so the milling head will be used for some of the road repairs in conjunction with the paver this summer. But in this situation, this hydraulic post mower attachment can be attached to that skid steer or another piece of equipment and automate that process, which now frees up labor, and they can go into the parks, they can go into the cemeteries, they can go up to the Glen as needed. So it's another step towards automation of some of our manual vegetation control processes. Last item in the amount of $15,000 for the Adams Free Library building. The Select Board, Finance Committee, and Town Meeting has seen this on multiple occasions before. Holly Jaco, our library director, does a great job every year coming in with her budget request and says, this is what I'd like to spend on capital items for the building. We do call it out separately from the $100,000 that we have. So this year, she's looking to spend $15,000 on replacement of the desk glass top at the main circulation desk, repairs to the library annex door frame, repairs to the trustee meeting room, electrical and plumbing work, and landscaping. And that brings us to $207,000. Just as an example of what we can't afford this year, but was requested by departments, was another APD Tahoe. The estimated cost of that vehicle was $65,000 to $70,000. DPW requested the purchase of a one-ton dump truck, $65,000 to $70,000 as well. And as I had mentioned during the budget development process, the forest wardens were looking for a crew cab pickup truck with trailering capabilities for the side-by-side that was $55,000 to $65,000. But we made the assessment that the other items were more critical at this point. It was a smaller amount of money, and we could do a little bit more with smaller items rather than one large ticket item. All those department heads are aware we're not able to do it unless the board votes otherwise. And at the end of all of this spending, that would bring us to $457,567 left over in the unreserved, undesignated fund balance.
Thank you. So I'm a learner who has to see the full picture, so I apologize that I had asked to just review the whole thing. But for anybody who is following at home and just wants the quick numbers, or anyone in the room, so it was a $207,000 fiscal year capital infrastructure and equipment outlay from free cash. The $207,000 it's made up of $100,000 for public buildings and facilities, $30,000 for the Selectmen's room for technology improvements, $32,000 for the stainless steel dump body for the international dump truck for DPW, $30,000 for DPW for the hydraulic post mower attachment, and $15,000 for the Adams Free Library building for upgrades. Correct?
And that, yes, and that is referenced in the town meeting warrant article for Article 9,
Okay.
which has been drafted to reflect the request in the memorandum. So if there's any other spending, any additional spending you'd like to do, not spend something, just know that after you make the vote to approve the spending, Article 9 will also have to be amended to reflect that as well.
This time I'll open it up for any questions anyone has about the capital, fiscal year 25 capital that's been proposed.
Question, Jerry, if you could walk us through the preventive maintenance and best practice in facilities management for how we're going to maintain our, oh, what?
No, I'm asking him to come forward.
Oh, I thought you were smacking me up the head.
No. I don't promote violence. I was trying to encourage him to come forward. Thank you.
We don't want Jerry's time wasted.
Preventative maintenance, well, first we need something to prevent. We have to upgrade everything in order to prevent the to do preventative maintenance. Right now, we have a HVAC company right now that is not, we're getting stabilized on our HVAC equipment. They're coming in and doing maintenance seasonally. We're going to enter into a contract with them pretty soon to do all the maintenance on all the HVAC and all the systems in the town. So we're working on that, but right now they're still upgrading. We still have a lot of failures that we have to address. So hopefully we can get into a contract agreement with them and start with that. As far as anything else, I can't promise doing any kind of maintenance agreement right now because we have so many repairs to do. We have to repair this building. I got a rat estimate to replace all the rat in this building, $52,000. And that's just in the back. That's not including the portico area either. So I have to continue to repair things before we can stabilize anything. But what we do have that's in good shape, I'm trying to keep my guys busy trying to maintain those elements such as painting and caulking and doing those things, trying to maintain all those elements until we can finally be stabilized enough to start having a program where we can keep everything going.
Okay.
And also just keep in mind too, any project over $50,000 has to be bid. So a lot of times, why does it take so long for the town to do anything? That's one of the reasons. Anything over $50,000, you have to bid it. That generally involves getting Amon's department involved because they're the ones that write the bid specs. We have to bid it out, open up the bids, award the bid, et cetera. So that takes some time to do that. Also, Jerry is our facilities manager in addition to being our director of inspectional services and our only working in the field building inspector. So when he is not issuing building permits, checking building permits, conferring with zoning and things like that, he is then ushering the two facility assistants, two custodians around, making sure that they're getting things done, ensuring they're getting their training that they need. So that's the other issue, is we recognized we needed a facilities department that looks at our public buildings from a maintenance standpoint. Used to be performed by the DPW. The DPW focuses on the infrastructure, the parks, all of that type of stuff, and the buildings were being let go. So Jerry agreed to take on those duties. I think he may regret that periodically.
I have.
But with two custodians and Jerry's stewardship, and frankly, Jerry knows buildings really well. He's able to prioritize. We are getting things done, albeit it's slow, albeit we're chipping away at it. But we've stopped deterioration. We've made inroads to stop the reactive repairs.
Okay.
And we're getting to that point. Would we like to do better? Absolutely. Absolutely. But
I'm not a person that's going to duct tape and caulk. I don't agree with that. You have to replace, and like the back of the building over on the other side by the elevator, you have some heavy damage back there, and that's not including the interior work that needs to be done because we took in water. So all of that needs to be done. And what I want to do is upgrade it to some composite materials where it doesn't affect the building for historic reasons, but it'll also maintain, it'll be here long after I'm gone. So if we can get into those kind of things where it turns into no maintenance back there, that's great.
Okay, thank you. No.
Yeah, about that rot, a lot of that is because of that hill coming down, that back of that building, because the water pockets there all the time, I notice it. And I think that's probably bringing on some of that rot.
That project's being looked into.
Yeah. Well,
Sidewalk replacements and regrade.
right, because I can see that and some type of swirl taking the water away when it comes down that hill before it has a chance
But
to.
that's not actually the route I'm talking about.
Okay,
That's water infiltration that's happening there, because most of that's masonry at the low grade.
where is the rot?
The rot's on the side of the building, you stand on those steps right there and look right at the top of the building on the second floor, and you've got a hole this big, right through that 24-inch board that goes across. That's gone down through the stairwell.
Okay, so that was roof problems perhaps, right?
That was a problem that they did when they had the roofing up there and the way that the flashing comes in. So when the roofing company, when I came on board, the roofing company was already here. But the first thing I told them was, I want it reflashed so that it shoots the water away, not towards the building. So they re-crimped it and made it shoot away from the building. So that was the first thing I did in 2019 when I got here. And like I said, I kind of regret it in a way.
You moved your way into the job, because you did well.
But anyways, so, I knew what the I knew that this was going to be a problem, so, but these prices are killing me,
Yeah.
absolutely killing me. We just had to do elevator repairs. I got a price of almost $50,000 for these elevator repairs, and we have to have them done in another 50 days.
That's just a perfect example of the few number of elevator companies because they can get what they want.
So I shopped around, and I got it for $18,000.
Good. Now, within Berkshire County, I only know of two companies.
There's a lot of action.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
actually a lot of them, and I've been dealing with a couple of them. And in the contract, it doesn't say anything about hiring an outside company, so I did.
Okay.
So just another example of Jerry saving us money, because if we hired a full-time facilities manager to handle this, that salary would be easily an $80,000 a year job. In order to do it, Jerry is doing it at the same time as his other job, and we're chipping away at it. So thank you, Jerry.
John?
Well, I do have a follow-up question. Are there companies out there, this is just a discovery question. Are there companies out there who we could outsource, who are professionals in facilities management, so we wouldn't have to have a full-time person, and they would be able to get volume discounts on parts and
We wouldn't do enough volume in a particular part to make it worthwhile. There are companies out there, but you're not going to pay $2,000 to hire them. It's going to be a lot of money to hire a company like that. It's going to be around six figures if you want somebody to come in here and do that sort of thing.
Okay. Just something to consider as we get more buildings and.
Actually, we're getting less buildings and that's one thing I've been discussing since 2019 is that we shouldn't be in the landlord business.
Perfect, okay.
So,
So we're moving in the right direction.
okay.
Thank you. John?
Go ahead, John.
All right, thanks. I got to ask this, so what year did we put the new roof on?
Here?
Yeah, when you started?
2019.
2019. And the, putting that roof on caused the rotting?
No, that was there before.
It was there prior to the roof being put on.
Right, and while the scaffolding was up, I tried to allocate money, I tried to find money to see if, and it wasn't even my job, I was trying to find money to see if we can go up and utilize the scaffolding while it was there to fix all that, and there was none.
So I thought you mentioned before the flashing had something to do with it, but
That's fixed.
that's fixed, okay.
So in 2019, the town did not have this type of funding available. In fact, the reserve fund that year, I believe 2019 or 2020, was tapped for a change order on the roof itself, roof project itself. And the pattern that we saw 2019, 2020, 2021 was all of the reserve fund uses were really centered around elevators, emergency building repairs, emergency boiler repairs, emergency repairs at the wastewater treatment plant. So had Jerry had the $100,000 in his budget back then, with the scaffolding up, he would have just been able to get a price. Everyone's mobilized, he would have been able to do that work at that time.
And I'm also changing companies that the town's dealt with for years, and I think they did it blindly for patronage. And to be honest with you, it was a bad way to go. I had a price of almost 60 grand to replace our boiler downstairs. I got this other company in there, and they fixed the section, $10,000, done. It works like a champ now, so. So we're working with a whole different branch of people now, so.
We use procurement, we use the state bid list. We call other communities, see if they've had good luck.
Nice.
With vendors. And we're able to, you have to compete. You have a balance between trying to get the repair done before further damage happens, and you're also trying to compete and get a good price in order to do that. So having these funds very flexible to be able to allow Jerry to get these things done.
So going back to the 100,000, any project that is 50,000 plus would require to go out to bid, I would expect you would bring that to the board as you have been, right? And also at the, finance discussion in the spring, I think you just did this, is provide a summary of the 100,000, which you did.
Yes, you have summaries of both the 100 from 2 years ago, which is almost, Jerry's got $40,000 left, and he already knows how he's going
That's
to, he knows how he's going to, right, he knows how he's going to spend it. He'll bring it right down to zero. And you had the $160,000 as well.
Okay, the 30,000 for the select board, the room here, the cable company were working on a 10-year contract, right?
Yes.
With Time Warner, and they had a public hearing. Have we brought to their attention that we would like to have this room done? So
Yes.
for the communities to be able to watch our meetings and other community or town led meetings. So has that been brought to their attention?
Yes, so Attorney Solomon is our attorney who's representing not only Adams, but North Adams, Cheshire, and Clarksburg on the renewal contract. Some of the other communities need a similar capital investment, but there's only a few things that the municipality can negotiate. Rates aren't one of them. So it's the franchise fee and it's the capital money. So these are one of the things that Bill will be advocating for in that negotiation, is for an infusion of capital. However, because it's a legal negotiation, it's not necessarily guaranteed. Having this money will be able to do that. Should we get, say, $30,000 from the cable company, don't hold your breath. But say we get it, this money can be released by operation of town meeting, as we've done previously, and reallocated to another purpose.
Okay, so we're still going to fight for the 30 grand,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, just to follow up, I noticed that Spectrum, they had a hearing, and I believe Christine and yourself were there.
Yep.
And what I took from it was that costs are really hurting the common person. And that's just indicative of other bills that people have. And therefore, I'm worried about the taxpayers of our community, and I just hope in the future we look more directly at their needs, and we can do something about it, because people are really strapped. And I don't know, I just get so many people saying, I'm having a hard time making it, and I can't doubt what they're saying.
Thanks, Joe. Anything else for Jerry?
Well, I don't know, I think perhaps you could answer this. Will the highway department be able to take off that bed by themselves, so they have a lift in there?
No, ZWAC contracting will do it out of Steventown. That's where the
Okay.
quote came from.
Yeah, because I know Matt Whittick at Atlantis has one of those big overhead lifts.
He's helped us out before,
Yeah.
but this is beyond our capability.
Yeah.
So ZWAC is the metal fabricator that
right.
we use.
Okay,
They'll handle the work.
And I'd also like to have a summary of the Adams Free Library building, $15,000 they're going to spend, because we've invested a lot of upgrades to that building, and I can understand that, but just a summary of what was done.
In the past,
No, in the future, for this 15K, like, you know,
Holly usually keeps to that.
yeah.
So it's the circulation desk, the annex door frame, the trustee meeting room, and electrical and plumbing work, and some landscaping, whatever she can fit in the 15.
Yes, again,
Within that
because we're proposing it now in May, we can't spend it until after July, and it doesn't necessarily mean it will be spent in the month of July. It could be spent anywhere through that, 1-year period, and capital funds do roll over. So it's hard, again, to predict what a cost of a repair item is going to be at any given time when our process is so early.
And if she has anything left, I know what I'm going to use it on.
Yeah, Holly and Jerry have conversations all the time about,
Spending her money.
I just asked a question because we've had, I believe, since I've been here, 2 bonds to do upgrades to the library. So we have the annex door frame, so we must not have done that in the 2 bonds that we took out, or repairs to the trustee meeting room. Did we do any upgrades when the bonds were approved? That's why I asked the question, because we
Holly's,
but I'm sure she's got it right. That's the reason I asked the question. Was
she's had the painters in there, she's had the fixtures in there. They're going to be doing the doors. We just created a blockade, as you could say, so that when they remove the doors and have those done over, it's going to be blocked in so nobody can go through there, and nobody's going to break into there, trust me.
She's also worked with Jerry to find antique hinges for the library door as well, so that they all match.
Any other questions on the fiscal year 25 capital from the board? Okay, thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Anything else on fiscal 25 capital? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to item E, the town meeting warrant. The town meeting warrant was posted, the draft of it was posted with the agenda. So I will do my best to summarize items as we read through them. As our town moderator does at town meeting, what I plan to do is read through the articles, and if a board member would like to hold that article to ask a question, then we would do that at the end. Does that sound like an okay process? Okay. Therefore, in front of the board this evening is a draft of the town meeting warrant for the town meeting to be held on Monday, the 3rd day of June, 2024, at 6 p.m. Adams Memorial Building, side entrance 30 Columbia Street in Adams. The annual articles. Article 1, to choose all other town officers not previously chosen by ballot. Article 2, to hear the reports of the Board of Selectmen and other town officers and act thereon. Article 3, to hear the reports of any committee and act thereon. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of all elective officers of the town in accordance with the provisions of Section 108 of Chapter 41 of the General Laws as amended, and to see if any of said salaries and compensation shall be increased or take any other action in relation thereto. The Board of Selectmen, Board of Assessors, Treasurer Collector, Town Clerk, Board of Health, Cemetery Commissioners, and Moderator all fall under Article 4. Article 5, the operating omnibus article, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or appropriate from available funds a sum or sums of money as may be necessary to defray the ordinary expenses of the town for the fiscal period beginning July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, or take any other action in relation thereto. The board will find under Article 5, Personal Services fiscal 2025 recommended at $7,284,239, with operating expenses for fiscal year 25 recommended at $2,552,513. Also in Article 5, you will see available funds to be used. The list here, the parking meter fund and the Council on Aging fund. Moving on to Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money to operate the sewer enterprise or take any other action in relation thereto. The total recommendation of $1,201,256 will be raised on the tax levy.
So hold that, please, I have a question, that's all.
Certainly. Article 7, the capital omnibus articles. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or appropriate from available funds a sum or sums of money as may be necessary for the purchase, rebuilding, and/or installation of certain departmental equipment, for the contracting for certain services, to pay interest and loans maturing during this period, for the repair, reconstruction, and/or construction of streets, roadways, sidewalks, sewers, guardrails, retaining walls, buildings, and/or bridges within the town. Further, to authorize the trade-in of any presently owned equipment toward the purchase price thereof, or take any other action in relation thereto. The total recommendation of the capital outlay, which includes technology and debt service, is $417,481. On the next page, Article 7 continues. Please note there is a Scribner's error that had that related to Article 6, but it is Article 7, where it does say available funds to be used, the technology fund, the $28,000. Please note the above request of appropriated from the technology fund would have no impact to the tax rate. This Article 7 also includes the debt service. Well, that's what I just mentioned, sorry. The principal on maturing debt of $285,000. The interest on maturing debt, $72,481. Continuing on to the next page, fees on maturing debt of $32,000. And then total interest, temporary loans and fees of $20,000.
I'd like to just hold 7 for a comment.
Certainly. We'll move on to Article 8, the capital outlay expenditure from stabilization fund, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from available funds the stabilization fund a one-time combined sum of $336,859 for the final principal payment of the fiscal 2007 wastewater treatment plant upgrade borrowing and the first year of interest payments of the fiscal 2024 Massachusetts Clean Water Trust borrowing for the wastewater treatment plant, or take any other action in relation thereto, for a total appropriation of $336,859. This appropriation would leave an ending balance in the stabilization fund of $862,867. Article 9, capital infrastructure and equipment outlay from free cash, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from available funds, free cash, a sum or sums of money as may be necessary for the purchase, rebuilding, and/or installation of certain departmental equipment, for the contracting for certain services, buildings within the town. Further, to authorize the trade-in of any presently owned equipment toward the purchase price thereof, or take any other action in relation thereto. The total requested amount is $207,000, with all of the detail that follows that we just reviewed under the fiscal 25 agenda item. Article 10. I'm sorry, we now move into the regional school assessment articles. So Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or appropriate from available funds a sum or sums of money as may be necessary for the operating and capital assessments of the Hoosick Valley Regional School District for the fiscal period beginning July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, or take any other action in relation thereto. The recommended amount is $6,354,380. The total Hoosick Valley Regional School District budget for fiscal 25 is $22,481,719.
I'd like to hold for a question.
Yeah, I'd like to hold that one also.
Okay. Great. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or appropriate from available funds a sum or sums of money as may be necessary for the operating and capital assessments of the Northern Berkshire Vocational Regional School District for the fiscal period beginning July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, or take any other action in relation thereto. The recommended amount is $1,063,774. The total fiscal 2025 budget for Northern Berkshire Vocational Regional School District is $12,092,886. The next section is transfers to special funds. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from available funds a sum of money to be used to lower the tax rate or take any other action in relation thereto. It is proposed that $250,000 of free cash be utilized to offset this year's tax rate. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds a sum of money to be added to the stabilization fund or take any other action in relation thereto. This article will transfer the balance of the reserve fund, currently $175,000, to the stabilization fund. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or appropriate from available funds a sum of money to provide for extraordinary and or unforeseen expenditures to be known as the reserve fund account, transfer from which may be made from time to time only by the Finance Committee, or to take any other action in relation thereto. This is an annual item that allows the town flexibility to meet operational difficulties through the Finance Committee and will eliminate the expense of calling a special town meeting. The request is $175,000. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or appropriate from available funds a sum of money to pay unpaid bills of current or prior fiscal years or take any other action in relation thereto. At this time, there are no outstanding bills. Now we will move into the annual authorization articles. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to authorize its Board of Selectmen to apply for and receive funds from the Community Development Block Grant Program under the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, or take any other action in relation thereto. This article will allow the town to apply for and expend community development block grants. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to authorize its Board of Selectmen to apply for and receive funds from the United States Department of Agriculture under the Community Facilities Grant Program, or take any other action in relation thereto. This article will allow the town to apply for and expend community facilities grants. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to accept certain perpetual care funds that were received during the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023 for the care and maintenance of cemetery lots. Such funds are in the custody of the town treasurer, or take any other action in relation thereto. This article will allow the town to accept the $4,000 deposited with the town for the care and maintenance of cemetery lots. Today was a bad day to have dental work. Just saying. Oh, Article 19, to see if the town will vote to authorize the town treasurer with the approval of the Board of Selectmen to borrow in the event of a revenue shortfall, to allow the treasurer to borrow via revenue anticipation notes, tax anticipation notes, federal aid anticipation notes, grant anticipation notes, and state aid anticipation notes in an amount not to exceed the anticipated revenue shortfall, or take any action in relation thereto. The law requires that the town annually grant this authority to the town treasurer. Article 20, authorize the revolving fund spending limits. To see if the town will vote pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to establish limitations on expenditures from the revolving funds established by Chapter 50 of the General Bylaws entitled Revolving Funds as follows, or take any action in relation thereto. And you will see the list of the revolving accounts and the expenditure limit. And again, this was posted with our agenda, so those can follow along. Article 21 is to amend the compensation plan, to see if the town will vote to amend the compensation plan as established by Section 10-5 of the Town of Adams Code of Laws or take any other action in relation thereto. And you will see the salary administration plan for annual rates and hourly rates for fiscal year '25. So now we move on to the bylaw amendments. Article 22. The board may be familiar with this. We discussed this at our last meeting. This is to see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 14-3, dogs required to be leashed exceptions of the general bylaws, to read as follows, or take any action relative thereto. Under Section 14-3, the change falls under Section B, where it will now state this section shall not apply to property owned and controlled by the Town of Adams or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where a separate set of rules and regulations applies.
Hold, please.
Article 23. To see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 50 revolving funds to add the following revolving fund. The revolving fund to be added is the Greylock Glen revolving fund with the spending authority with the town administrator, revenue source, rental fees, and the allowed expenses, maintenance and upkeep of the Greylock Glen.
Hold.
I'd like to hold that one.
Special articles. Article 24. The Economic Development Fund, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Economic Development Fund a sum of money to be used for fiscal year 2025 expenses, $80,000 for the payroll expenses of the Executive Director of the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center from July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, or take any other action in relation thereto. The balance of the Economic Development Fund as of April 29, 2024 is $161,883. Article 25, authorization to acquire easements. To see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to acquire by purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise the fee to and/or permanent and/or temporary easements for public way purposes, including without limitation for the construction, alteration, installation, maintenance, improvement, repair, replacement, and/or relocation of rights of ways, bridges, sidewalks, drainage, utilities, driveways, guardrails, slopes, grading, rounding, landscaping, and other,
Appurtenances.
thank you, appurtenances and/or facilities to enable the town to undertake the Quality Street, South Willow Street Bridge Replacement Project, and for any and all purposes incidental or related thereto, in, on, and under certain parcels of land and land adjacent to and within 200 feet of said parcels located on Quality Street and South Willow Street in the locations more particularly depicted on plans entitled Massachusetts Department of Transportation Highway Division Plan and Profile of Quality Street, South Willow Street Bridge, number A-04-038 in the Town of Adams, Berkshire County Preliminary Right-of-Way Plans, dated August 10th, 2022, prepared by BSC Group, said plans on file with the town clerk, as said plans may be amended and/or incorporated into an easement plan. B, raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds and/or borrow or otherwise provide a sum of money for the foregoing and paying in any and all costs and expenses incidental or related thereto, including without limitation the cost of and land easement acquisitions, and further C, authorize the select board to enter into any and all agreements and take any and all actions as may be necessary or appropriate to effectuate the foregoing purposes or to take any action related thereto.
Please hold, I have a question.
I was gonna hold that one also. I have just one question.
Sure. Article 26, authorization to acquire easements. To see if the town will vote to A, authorize the select board to acquire by purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise the fee to and/or permanent and/or temporary easements for public way purposes, including without limitation for the construction, alteration, installation, maintenance, improvement, repair, replacement, and/or relocation of rights of way, bridges, sidewalks, drainage, utilities, driveways, guardrails, slopes, grading, rounding, landscaping, and other,
Appurtenances.
thank you, and/or facilities to enable the town to undertake the Jordan Street Culvert Replacement Project and for any and all purposes incidental or related thereto in, on, and under certain parcels of land and land adjacent to and within 200 feet of said parcels. Said parcels located on North Summer Street and Jordan Street in the locations more particularly depicted on plans entitled Jordan Street Culvert Draft Easement Plan, dated October 23rd, 2023, prepared by VHB. Said plan on file with the town clerk, as said plans may be amended and/or incorporated into an easement plan. B, raise and appropriate transfer from available funds and/or borrow or otherwise provide a sum of money for the foregoing and paying in any and all costs and expenses incidental or related thereto, including without limitation the cost of and land easement acquisitions, and further. C, authorize the select board to enter into any and all agreements and take any and all actions as may be necessary or appropriate to effectuate the foregoing purposes or to take any action related thereto.
I'd like to hold that.
Okay,
Good question.
certainly. I've messed up my system. Hold on. Okay. Article 27. Acceptance of MGL Chapter 39, Section 23D, the Mullen Rule, to see if the town will vote to accept for all boards, committees, or commissions holding
Adjudicatory.
hearings in the town, the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23D, which provide that a member of the board, committee, or commission holding an
Adjudicatory.
hearing shall not be disqualified from voting in the matter solely due to the member's absence from one session of such hearing, provided that certain conditions are met, or take any other action relative thereto.
Hold.
Article 28, reappropriation of Quaker Meeting House funds, to see if the town of Adams will vote to reappropriate $11,500 previously appropriated from the Quaker Meeting House Fund in fiscal 2022 and fiscal 2020 for the purpose of inspecting sills and/or performing minor repairs, or for matching possible grant funding from the Massachusetts Preservation Projects Fund or similar grants, or take any action relative thereto.
Hold.
Article 29, to transact any other business that may legally come before said meeting. Okay. To recap, the following articles have been held. Article 6, Article 7, Article 10, Article 22, Article 23, Article 25, Article 26, Article 27, and Article 28. Is that correct? Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Jay. Which means, if someone would like to make a motion to approve Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, and 29.
So moved.
There's a motion by John. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Howard. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or abstained? That is unanimous. Thank you. And thank you for the assist, Mr. Green.
No problem.
Again, dental work, those words did not look kind. Let's move on to Article 6. This was held by John Duval. This was the Sewer Enterprise Fund article.
Could you just review this article, Jay?
Sure. Crystal can pop up too in case I need her to fill in. I believe last fiscal year, if not the one before it, a sewer enterprise fund was created. A sewer enterprise fund is required by the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. So they're the lending source for the approximate $7 million rehabilitation project over at the wastewater treatment plant. In order to access those low-interest fees, we had to establish a sewer enterprise fund. What enterprise fund means is essentially, no matter how you fund the enterprise, whether it's through tax levy, whether it's through a fee, a separate revenue source, whatever it may be, those funds remain in the enterprise fund. You can think of it as a budget within a budget. So in this situation, what Clean Water Trust is saying, hey, we'll lend you that $7 million for a really good interest rate, but you're going to create an enterprise fund for your wastewater treatment plant. Now, what you see here in front of you is the personnel expenses, so that pays for our 7 staff members at the plant, the operating expenses to run the plant, and the $240,000 debt service payment that we're leaving in the enterprise fund for a grand total of $1.2 million. That $1.2 million is part of the tax levy, as it always has been. So you didn't approve it this year in the general omnibus article as you have previously. This year, you've just called out that $1.2 million separately, but that stays in the enterprise fund. So unlike another department that may not spend down all of its expenditure, so say a department budget is $50,000, you only spend $45,000. That $5,000 goes back into what we were discussing earlier, free cash. In this situation with an enterprise fund, say the wastewater treatment plant only spends $999,999. That balance remains with the wastewater treatment plant. And eventually, as that number may build up over time, the Board of Selectmen can vote, Finance Committee endorsed, and town meeting approved those expenditures for capital items. So the wastewater now becomes its own enterprise. This can happen perpetually without any further discussion or any further action about a sewer user fee. It can always be funded on the tax levy. Should the town decide down the road that it needs to implement a sewer user fee, this apparatus still remains in place. Either way, it doesn't matter how you fund it, it stays at the plant, because the purpose of this is to ensure that the town is appropriately funding its sewer enterprise so that a plant such as the one we had does not fall away again into disrepair, or we continue to kick the can down the road. And as I mentioned earlier, and I feel it's very important to say this will allow the plant to be self-sustaining for its own capital needs. Maybe not in year 1 or 2, but with $7 million of upgrades, the exposure to the town of having to replace pumps, electrical equipment, et cetera, everything that we've been doing over there for, it feels forever, about 2.5 years now on the rehabilitation project, that $7 million project, we won't have to touch. So this gives us a good chance to get ahead of any equipment failures that may come up and plan. When, within the last 5 years and previously, it was this pump broke down, now we have to replace it, we didn't plan for it. Now we'll be able to do that. So that is the intent of Article 6. It does not create or relate to a sewer user fee in any way. It's just carving out the expenditure that we have to spend to keep the plant operating with personnel operating in the debt service costs.
And
Does that
that's,
help you?
yeah, it does, and that's all costs for the wastewater treatment
Yeah,
plant.
yeah, it's 1.2 million to run the
Okay,
place.
so
Yep.
you wouldn't find that in any other article?
You would not. You would not. It's been deleted from, if you were to look at your 2 town meeting books side by side, if you look under DPW, last year you'd see wastewater sitting in there. Now you'll see it's gone, and that's here.
The only thing from the omnibus article is the wastewater collection under Public Works. Is that,
For $5,000. Yes, that's the actual manhole covers and things like that. That doesn't have anything to do with the plant.
Okay.
DPW Highway takes care of those items.
Gotcha.
We might eventually roll that into here, too.
okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Do I have a motion to move Article 6?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? It is unanimous. Article 7 was the capital omnibus article, and Joe, you held this.
Yes, I did hold it. My concern is the wording here is, we have so many walls and retaining walls, buildings, bridges, and so on and so forth that are really in need of repair. And I was just wondering how this fits into what we're looking for. What do we mean by to authorize the trade-in of any presently owned equipment toward the purchase price thereof? What would be an example of something like that? within the parameters of all the repairs that are needed in this community. And I have another follow-up question on the Anna Storm damage bond issue at 54,800. Where has that, have we found a way, or the money, that $5 million something dollars for the repair of when we had all that damage?
So let me take those separately. The language, Joe, that you just read under Article 7 is standard boilerplate language. The way that the town pays for those items now is using free cash, which is found in Article 9. If the town didn't do that, and it called out on the tax levy $207,000 for capital, but didn't use it from free cash, you would see it in Article 7. We don't do that. That's why you see the language in Article 7 is essentially the same as, I believe there's another article that uses similar language. So it doesn't, it's boilerplate. The only thing Article 7 authorizes expenditure on is $28,000 for technology, which is the license fee from the cable company. That comes in that way. And then the debt service payment of $389,400. If we had, frankly, more room in the budget, i.e. the tax levy, we wouldn't necessarily have to spend capital items from free cash. We'd be able to raise it on the tax levy, do that. So it's a mechanism of how it is, but it's boilerplate, Joe. So if we wanted to say 150 grand for a particular retaining wall, that's where you would see it, but it's not there. Question 2, regarding the $2.5 million bond bill for all that stormwater work.
Right, excuse me, yeah.
Yes, it's been spent down for a variety of different projects. The most visible one is, and we have all that listed on a spreadsheet that we can give the board or have an update.
Yeah, I would like to see it.
It's been a while since we chatted about it. The Valley Street project a couple of years ago, some money was spent on engineering, the brook over by Harmony Street.
Brook near Harmony Street, Fisk.
Fisk, thank you, Fisk Brook. That retaining wall, that's being studied for engineering design, we're paying that. And then if you recall, the Jordan Street culvert repair, that FEMA grant that we've fought and waited for long and hard, that has a local matching component. That matching component is coming out of that pot of money as well. So we can get you that, but that's what has been used for that 2.5 million. Okay?
Any follow-ups, Joe? You're all set, Joe?
Well, just a final comment. Certainly within this community, there's a lot of retaining walls, a lot of things in pretty bad shape within the parameters of what's here. And once again, I realize everything is costly, but we certainly have to start looking at that type of thing. That's it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to move Article 7?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. We'll move on to Article 10. Article 10 was the Hoosier Valley Regional School District budget, and both John and Joe held this one.
So just a status question, the request from the Hoosick Valley Regional School District is approximately $162,000 less than fiscal year 2024. And I was wondering, have we heard from the town of Cheshire if they have moved forward past this type of a meeting to move the town meeting, that they agree with the assessment the school district provided to them, or did they deny it? I'm just curious what the status is of Cheshire, because if they, go forward, it could mean we might even pay less than that. I was just wondering what the status was.
I don't know.
I don't either. I'm in touch with their town manager, but not since last week, and we didn't discuss it at the time.
All right, so over time, we'll find out rather quickly what the status of that is. Okay. And we'll just do a motion on the floor to change it, if it does change.
It can be reduced, yes.
Right.
Not added to, hopefully.
No, not added.
No.
Oh, it's my understanding, I think to John's point, the formula, say for example, if Cheshire were to say, we can't afford to say 5%, but we can afford 3%, I believe the way that the school district formula works is that whatever reduction there is for Cheshire, there is a reduction for the town of Adams proportionally to the way that school population formula works. It's complicated, but that is one of the issues that the school district faces, is that it cannot hold Adams or Cheshire stable and stationary if it moves one of the other towns. So
Yep.
Cheshire may reduce to save themselves money, but the school district would take in even less money because Adams has to be reduced proportionally.
Correct. All right, thank you.
Joe?
Yes, I would just like to comment, the Hoosick Valley School District budget, $22 million. I know a lot of it is because of contractual agreements and healthcare and all the other things that goes with running a school and giving a child an education. But what's happening at our school is, because of the students, we have so many special needs students that in order to give them the needed education, we've come to the point where a lot of our hires are no longer teachers, they're specialists. And along with specialists that comes with a price. And we have to do something. I don't know what it is quite yet, but I'm going to think about it, because $22 million for a school that has like 40 kids graduating from high school and continues to go up, although John said, I believe you said last year was $1 million less or something to that extent. But, you know, people say that to me, you know, $22 million, and I believe strongly in education. I mean, that's the card kids need to get ahead in life, but because we have so many special need children of different problems, either physical or, you know, I don't want to categorize things, but we have a lot of students. I know in kindergarten, I think more than 60 to 65% of the kids coming into the kindergarten classes have special needs. And in order to give them what they need, the school has been hiring a lot of specialists. And within the pay budget for specialists, the salaries are quite high. So I'm just saying that we have a school that population is constantly dropping, and the prices go up and up, and it's got to be a time when this community, along with, you know, Drury High School, that we have to look at consolidation. I mean, that's maybe a little bit down the road, but we can't continue to, you know, dish out $22,481,719, you know, yearly, because it's just, you know, that's our biggest budget buster, I believe. That's what we pay most for, right, is our schools.
Yes, I would, you know, I think, putting it in perspective, Joe, as I was listening to you, trying to think of my next thought, if you take away what town salaries are for the staff, you know, there's 18 people that work in town hall, you have 14 in DPW, you've got about the same number in police, those are the three largest groups of people. It's about $7 million for salaries, health care, health insurance, all that goes up every year. When you take that away, and this is a good point to make because there's a lot of conversations about roads right now, the town of Adams is left with $2.5 million to run 12 departments. That includes police, DPW operating expenses. We run the largest town in the county after Pittsfield, North Adams, then Adams on $2.5 million. So our total budget is 19. Largest chunk of that goes all of our personnel costs, then right up to Hoosick Valley, then to McCann, and then what's left is our expenditures to run town government. It's at some point that, as you pointed out, it's not sustainable.
And I'd like to say also that I give so much credit to the paraprofessionals there, because I substitute quite often, and they're taking care of children that are really, really challenged. And because of their services, all a parent has to do is say, you can't give my child what my child needs. And the school district would have to find a place where the children would go, and that would cost hundreds of $1,000s. So when I see the paraprofessionals up at the school, what they do, I feel like they're the unsung heroes. I mean, they're taking care of children, changing diapers, and it's so sad to see, but I just wanted to comment, and I'll stop here, that, something has to be done about budgeting these high budgets, and once again, all I can think of quickly is consolidation, which may be in the offing. So that's what I wanted to bring forth.
Thanks, Joe. Hearing nothing else on Article 10, does someone want to make a motion to move Article 10 forward?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention?
I'll abstain.
Okay, one abstention.
Yeah, I should abstain too, come to think of it, because I'm a substitute teacher, and I just made my comments, and I've recused myself at the last meeting. So those were just thoughts, and I'm also going to recuse myself. Thanks for reminding me, John.
So it'll be an abstention.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we just need to redo that motion then, because.
Right. I was seconding it, right.
Okay.
Just for,
So Howard made the motion, I'll second it.
okay.
So, yep, we'll redo that. 2 in favor, 2 abstentions.
Thank you.
Nope, thank you for pointing that out. So that will bring us to Article 22, which is our bylaw amendment. This was the Chapter 14-3, dog requires to be on leash exceptions. John, you held this one.
I was wondering if we could have Eamon come up to the podium, please. And I realize I might have been the last meeting, we did have a short discussion on this. Could you just go over the bylaw in general?
Yeah, so this bylaw amendment is needed, I think, to open our off-leash dog park area at 1 Cook Street. Basically, if you look at our dog leashing requirements, there are no exceptions granted for town parks at all. So if this were to grant an exception for town parks, it would allow the Board of Selectmen to develop a set of rules for the dog park down there at 1 Cook Street and adopt those, and allow dogs to be off-leash within the fenced.
It's
dog
not
park
a area. blanket release of it. It is, the language in B says, this section shall not apply to property owned and/or controlled by the town of Adams or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where a separate set of rules and regulation applies. So for the Hoosick Valley Bowling Green Dog Park, there would be a established set of rules and regulations. Section A, requiring leashing, would be applicable everywhere else, unless the Parks Commissioner or the board would say, oh, we can go off leash over here. That's how that would operate.
Right, so hopefully if this is approved at town meeting, sometime shortly after town meeting, I'll come back to the Board of Selectmen with a draft set of rules for the dog park that we can hopefully all come to some sort of agreement upon.
Okay, that was my question, if it was just the dog park or other fields, but it's just the dog park. All right,
Just the dog park at this point in time.
okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Anything else on Article 22? If not, do I have a motion to move Article 22 forward?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. That'll bring us to Article 23. This was to amend Chapter 50 revolving funds to add a revolving fund for the Greylock Glen revolving fund. John, you held it first, and then Joe.
So currently, the alcohol tax, lodging tax, and the meals tax that we receive back from the state, whatever amount it is, it goes into our economic development fund.
The meals tax goes into EDF, everything else goes into general receipts.
Okay. That might be something to think about. But anyways, the question I have is, we have maintenance and upkeep of the Glen for the allowed expenses, but the revenue sources will be the rental fees themselves, right? So shared estate's going to pay, is it going to be shared estates type, or is it going to be just the,
So let's start with the closest future item that we can come up with.
All right.
The outdoor center is being constructed. We anticipate that Mass Audubon, who's been the selected and accepted education provider, when we are able to have some room, breathing room, and sit down and negotiate the lease arrangements with them, they will pay a lease, they will pay a common area maintenance fee. They may not pay it in year one, they may pay it in year two. We're not sure yet. We haven't had time to sit down and do that with them. That money that comes in from that lease payment would go into the revolving fund. Then I'll move on to the anticipated restaurant area. Restaurant RFP just got reissued, second time around. Say we were successful in obtaining a restaurant operator. They would pay a common area maintenance fee, they will pay some type of a lease arrangement to use the space, use the building. That lease payment will go into the revolving fund. If down the road, and I would anticipate this will be the case, this is in Mr. Wynn's territory, a wedding establishment is set up, some type of other grounds usage fee, anything that the Board of Selectmen says, this is what we want to collect a fee for some type of usage, goes into this account. This is step number one to making the Graylock Glen its own self-sustaining enterprise. Very similar to the transfer station. Transfer station fees, the permit fees, the bag tag fees. If you are a user of the transfer station, you pay for that permit fee, you pay for those bag tags, that goes into the revolving account. We pay the garbage removal fees from that account. It does not affect the tax levy. We currently carry 25 grand in the budget on the tax levy to back up the revolving account at the transfer station. Our goal is to get rid of that, eliminate that 25,000 from the budget, make the transfer station. That's the closest analogy to something that we have already to explain the Glen. Will this always be here? Probably not. Once shared estates comes online, we're successful in getting a convention center built up there, amphitheater. Eventually there'll be another operating authority that will be one step removed from the town, like Masmoka, which has been discussed for years. It'll be more like an enterprise account, similar to wastewater, where all that money just stays with the Glen. Town meeting doesn't see it. It's its own operating entity, whether that's a commission, an authority, or whatever that may be. We have to get there. This is a very large enterprise. The project that's going on up there now is only 15 million as it is. So what we want to do is be able to anticipate that income, that revenue, and bring it in. The budget this year is carrying a $57,000 operating budget for Graylock Glen. Some of that was in last year's budget. Fiscal '25 is $57,000. That's the goal. Build up the revolving account. As Mike is able to establish, this is what it costs to operate the building, this is what it costs to maintain the trail system, and all the things that we want to do aspirationally to maintain that 1,000 acres, we'll wean off the budget and let the revolving fund build up. Let's move on to shared estates. Shared estates comes in, they're successful in building it. Meals tax will go wherever it has been going, which is the Economic Development Fund, unless the Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, and Town Meeting say otherwise. Lodging tax will go into a general receipt and now can be appropriated otherwise, just like our sister towns do with $4 million worth of lodging income. We'll be able to do that. Any rental fees, particularly the 7% that they have promised the town of Adams and agreed to pay, will go into this account. And eventually, Mr. Wynn's salary comes off the budget. The superintendent of buildings and grounds, Mr. Wojcik, that comes off the budget. If we hire a cleaning company in order to clean the bathrooms at some point, that comes off the budget. The water maintenance system comes off the budget, all gets paid out here. This is step number one. And this is just like the other revolving accounts.
thank you. That answers my questions. I would just like to request the chair that we revisit the alcohol tax, lodging tax, and meals tax, and where they go into the budget when we receive the amount from the state, just to bring us back to all on the same page. And for the alcohol tax, drink more Pabst Blue Ribbon, right?
On tap,
On tap. All right, great.
draft.
Anything else on that, John?
That's all I got.
So Joe, you also held it.
Yes, I did. The scenario that Jay just gave is a perfect world. The way that you're seeing it might not be the way that it plays out. So I worry when revolving fund and you're the spending authority.
Just like I am with all the others, yes.
So if you're the spending authority, will, every time you spend something, will I know about it?
No, and you don't know now. So that's a little bit of confusion. Let me clarify. So in the town special acts under the charter, town administrator is the chief financial officer. So whether it's $1 going out the door for an item, or whether it's another, I sign every invoice. Other towns may not. Prior to 1984, the 3-person select board signed weekly every warrant. We haven't been established that way since 1984. So, for example, the revolving account for the transfer station, spending authority is the town administrator. The waste bills to remove that come in from Casella. They're placed on an invoice. The DPW operations supervisor at this point signs them off. They're over $350, so I see them. And I approve the expenditure. That's how this works. In this situation, I mean, it won't be year 1, but let's say year 2 or 3, an invoice for garbage removal at the outdoor center will come in. Mr. Wynn or Mr. Rojic will get that invoice. They will sign a PO authorizing spending the $1,500 out of the revolving fund. So over $350, I will countersign. It gets paid for out of that account. Crystal, did I adequately describe how our system works?
But the Board of Selectmen set the goals and the vision. So if we indicate we would like to have Mr. Wynn's salary removed from the Economic Development Fund, you already mentioned that we're going to do it anyways, but the board would set that as a goal, and since you work for the board, we're
Yes.
probably going to do that.
I execute
So
the policy
that's
of the
where our oversight is we set the goals.
Yes.
You operate the town on a daily basis. You are the CFO based on the acts.
Yes.
So, okay.
And there's about 3 different steps of review before anything goes out. And Crystal's happy to review that if anybody ever wants to know the mundane aspect of municipal accounting, but that's what happens.
Yeah, and also with, because you brought it up with the restaurant, this is the second RFP that went out, but the ones prior, they were extended, is that correct?
They were extended, and there were no bidders.
Right.
And this one's been completely redrafted based on the feedback we got from the first round of people who didn't bid. They were interested, didn't bid. So Mr. Wynn interviewed them all and said, why didn't you bid? And they went back to the drawing table and redrafted an RFP to make it competitive. And we'll see who bids on this one.
Well, I
What's the deadline?
sure hope somebody does.
Eamon, do you know the deadline?
The deadline?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. We can
I
look
don't
it up.
remember.
Okay.
I want to say maybe first week of June.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'll look it up. It's on the town calendar, so, thanks. Joe, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. There's nothing else? Do I have a motion to move Article 23 forward?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. Article 25 was held by John and then Joe.
So every time we do a major project like the Route 8 Commercial Street project, we have to acquire easements. And some homeowners, business owners, they're good, they're nice, you can use the front yard and do what you gotta do, no cost, we're good. Some, like in the train that went through town, we put that together. We had some homeowners looking for a fence, and if that's what it took to keep them happy, we build the fence. And then there's a few that want cash, right, small amounts of cash, right, for easement to their land.
Yes.
So where does that funding come from to pay for these easements?
For Quality Street, we can use Chapter 90.
So that also comes out of Chapter 90, or any easements that we negotiate?
Yes,
Okay,
or other sources of funding, but
right. So normally it's
Quality Street, I know for a fact we can use Chapter 90.
Chapter 90 we can
Yes.
use that for.
Yeah,
Okay, I was just curious where that funding was coming from.
yeah.
That's it.
Joe?
When you're getting involved in easements, you have to have power of an attorney. And so that adds up to certainly more money. And what bothers me is, DOT, they're going to be nice enough to give us the money for this, but we have to, do all the groundwork. And it's, when you're along a riparian zone too, it's a little bit different if properties abut, like the stream and things. And I don't know if that will be the case, but the Hoosick River runs right parallel with a lot of those homes and things, so that's something, but it's always a cost.
DOT is going to have to come to the Conservation Commission for approval of the project, probably sometime over the summer.
Okay, but it's not just getting the easements, it's having, a lawyer, so that will be someone else that will need to be paid, so that brings the cost up somewhat. That's,
The town's going to have to hire an appraiser
Yeah, right.
to do all these, figure out the value of the easements.
Yep.
So that's another expense, yes, that
Yep.
can be paid through Chapter 90.
okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Chapter 90 is the same funding that is supposed to be used for paving roads, right? And we have to use it for those items, we have to use it for engineering, and then whatever's left, we have for roads, right? So that's just a comment. Equipment too, yes.
Yes, there are a lot of competing uses for
Yes.
that funding, yeah.
Which town hall has a need for.
Exactly.
For $290,000 roughly?
$280 a year.
$280 a year.
You can use the figure that was brought up correctly last night at the Selectmen's Forum, about $1 million a mile. We have 78 miles of roadway, and we only get $280,000 a year from the state for road work.
Right.
And we run the town budget, the operating budget, on $2.5 million a year.
Thanks. Anything else on Article 25? If not, do I have a motion to move it forward?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. Article 26, Joe, you held this one.
Yes, pretty much the same thought as the Quality Street, Willow Street project. Because the Miller Brook runs through there, it's a perennial stream. And being a perennial stream, there's riverfront frontage. And I don't know if it will need to be constructed in the same width as the original culvert. And so that's another thing, and that will be handled by the wetlands.
That project,
Because right now,
the
it's,
street culvert is also going to have to go
right,
to
because
contact.
right now, in order to, save face, we took the pipe out, which it's too bad we didn't do it earlier, but now you have a whole different, drainage and that type of thing, so that'd be something that will really need to be looked at.
Right, so VHB is finalizing what's called, a notice of intent
Yep.
that they'll bring to the Conservation Commission for approval, hopefully in the next few months.
And we have to match, do we have a bid, how much?
That's a 25% match.
Right.
On that. I think there was an email that Jay sent out to the board a few weeks ago. The estimate we have for the project now is around $3.2 million total construction costs, so that's about $800,000 that the town will have to come up with. We have some of that funding available through the flood bond, but there is a gap there, so we will have to come up with some additional funding.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. If there's nothing else, do I have a motion to move Article 26 forward?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. Article 27, it's the acceptance of the Mullen Rule. John, you held this.
Okay, this is new. Eamon, if you could just give us an overview?
Yeah, so this boils down to helping to address some of the difficulties we get in obtaining quorums for meetings and quorums for voting. So this applies to adjudicatory hearings, not just, any meeting of a board. Adjudicatory hearings are where evidence is weighed and presented. So planning board, zoning board, when they issue a special permit or a variance, have to go through an adjudicatory hearing. Board of Health, when they, when there's an appeal to them, Board of Selectmen, for instance, with the dog, dangerous dog hearing, that's an adjudicatory hearing. So as it is currently, if we have one board member, take for instance the zoning board, it's a 5-member board. If there's a special permit hearing and a member is absent, so there's 4 members present, 1 member's absent for the first part of the hearing, and then during the second part of the hearing, another member is ill or has to go on vacation. At that point, we're down to 3 members who can vote on the issue, and for instance, for a special permit or for a variance, we need a supermajority, so 4 out of 5 have to vote on that issue. So if only 3 can vote, basically we have to start the process over again in terms of all the notifications, posting in the newspaper. So what this allows, adopting the Mullen Rule allows a member who's absent at the first part of the hearing to review minutes, review a recording, otherwise get up to speed on the issue at hand. They sign a certification saying that they are aware of the issues and have reviewed meeting materials, and then they can participate in future voting. So it helps us address quorum issues that come up from time to time.
So the Mullen Rule itself, is this used in other communities? Is this
Yes.
a court?
It's been around since 1983, apparently.
Okay.
We looked for.
Catching up.
We looked to see if the town has adopted this in the past and couldn't find any evidence that it has done so. However, at least one staff member has told me that this was already approved at some time in the past, but this will make it official again.
So do we have legal counsel approval to do this, or we're just doing,
Well, Ed reviewed all these warrant articles, had no issue with them.
Right.
But yeah, all we'll have to do at this point is, I found some forms, boilerplate forms from other communities. There's basically a certification form that a member will have to sign if they're absent from a meeting but want to participate in future voting. They'll just have to sign things, say they're up to speed on the matter at hand, and they'll be able to participate again.
So goals of the Mullen Rule. Number 1, if we know ahead of time that we have a hearing, property owners want to have these hearings, we want to have the adjudicatory process as efficiently as possible. If we don't get a quorum, these things have to be advertised. They have to be advertised in a newspaper. That is not inexpensive. Going through the budget process, you notice those advertising items that we talked about in the Community Development Department budget, it is very expensive to do so. We only want to advertise once. So if we know ahead of time that a person's not going to be there, then we would have to wait until we know everyone can be there, we have a quorum, we advertise, hope everybody can still show up for said quorum, and hold the hearing. This rule allows us flexibility. If that doesn't happen, we don't have to go back out and advertise, we just have to be sure that the person not there is fully abreast of everything that happened before and be there. So this will eliminate having it advertised twice in the newspaper. Our advertising for a particular zoning board, Eamon, on average is...
Yeah, one ad in the newspaper is almost $200, so. And then when you add in the cost of postage to notify abutters, and it's, a stamp is what, 55 cents now, maybe even more, I can't even remember.
As the treasurer reminds me daily, going up.
Yeah.
It's going up.
So, you have 50 or so abutters, there's another 25, $30. So yeah, it can get expensive. So yeah, this allows us to be more flexible, a little more nimble.
okay, thank you.
I just have a follow-up. Does this Mullen Rule allow Zoom meetings and telephone as participants?
No, or that doesn't fall under this, no. That's
on open meeting law.
Okay, because I know in the past, a few times we had telephone when John was traveling and he was on the telephone and, at the meeting, so this doesn't apply?
Two different things.
Okay.
If there's nothing else, do I have a motion to move Article 27?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. And that brings us to Article 28, which was the reappropriation of Quaker Meeting House funds. John, you help us.
Yes, since Jerry wants to get into realty business with the community, just kidding. The Quaker Meeting House, the town meeting appropriate funding when requested for upgrades and to keep that building in good enough shape to continue to survive the weather, the North Berkshire weather. So this happens every so often. They come back and looking for funding. I'm going to ask a question of why don't we just have this under our responsibility and we take care of it as a town? I just want to hear your opinion on that.
The funds are restricted. So the Quaker Meeting House funds were appropriated years ago, were created and appropriated years ago only for the purpose of Quaker Meeting House, and can only be appropriated by town meeting. So topic tonight has been who spends what and how can they spend it. The spending authority for 90-something% of town expenditures rests with the Office of Town Administrator as authorized by town meeting. So once the budget is passed, the town administrator then begins to execute the budget effective July 1 through the accounting department, through the departments. If we were a smaller town, it would just be a town manager spending that. Thank goodness we're not. In this situation, those funds are restricted and can only be appropriated by town meeting, and then we can only spend them in that fashion. So previously, as Eamon wrote in here in fiscal 22 and 20, town meeting was asked to appropriate certain funds for Quaker Meeting House, but was very specific in its language as to how those funds could be spent. In subsequent review of the property, conversations with the Historical Society and with the Historical Commission, a new plan has been developed to address some of the weak spots on the building. Because that does not align with the language as authorized for expenditure by town meeting, we have to ask for the reappropriation. It is an administrative bureaucratic step. We can't just spend it. And it delays us being able to execute the project. So that is why the language says here what it is.
How much is left in that account? It may be in one of these articles, but
Yeah, at the end there, it says, with these appropriations, there's $5,820 left.
that's all I have left, and then it'll be done, right?
Yep.
And then at that point, either the Historical Society can do a massive fundraiser. We've had some success in town with that, a la Susan B. Anthony, and replenish that. Or alternatively, it's treated like any other town building and competes with Town Hall, Memorial Building, Police Station, Old Town Hall, competes with any other town building or facility.
What about the town of Adams' 200th birthday? 250th birthday.
Cut a check. Let's get the state to cut a check.
There you go.
It's even better.
And
That's
that's,
it.
and it's going to be in 2028, right?
At the UN.
Yes.
So we'll put that idea, well, that's not part of this, so I'll keep quiet.
East Tuesday, 1767. Town of Adams, 1778.
Oh, here it is, the balance is on, the other sheet came off of my packet, all right.
I didn't read the entire thing. Sorry.
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah,
Okay.
welcome.
If there's nothing else on Article 28, do I have a motion to move it?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. That concludes all 29 articles of the town meeting warrant. This will now move on to the Finance Committee tomorrow evening for their endorsement. The Finance Committee is meeting at 6 p.m. tomorrow? Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, that brings us to new business item F. Vice Chair Howard Rosenberg asked for some time this evening, given that this is his last select board meeting with us on this side of the table, but we hope that you'll come back and visit us and present good information. But wanted to give you some time and also thank you for your service over the last 3 years.
And I want to first thank the board for embracing me as a newcomer 3 years ago and being patient with my learning curve. And I want to also take the time to thank the staff and the department heads. And Jay Green, I want to give him especially my kudos for stabilizing the team, building the team, reducing the turnover, and dealing with his legal background, avoiding expensive legal lawsuits from people who were likely to do so, and go through the long, drawn-out steps necessary to avoid those lawsuits, and using his ability to get the sewer getting a low interest rate for the sewage water treatment plant we built, $7.2 million. I think it's less than 2%. Had we not gotten that, it would be a very different budgetary, it would cost significant overruns. So I just want to thank you for that, and also for your clarity in presenting when issues came before the board. You brought us up to speed about what we need to know to make an educated decision. And if we didn't understand it, you'd make time in your schedule so I could make an appointment and you could explain it to me in detail. And so I felt very clear when I voted what I was voting for and what the implications were of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also want to thank the community, the citizens of Adams for voting for me. And I'm very happy to see there's a lot more community engagement. We have the community roundtable. Thank you, Carol. We're getting all the organizations in Adams to meet once a month and collaborate with each other, refer grants and other things, because the quality of life in a town is directly proportional to the engagement of the community. And I want to thank Jay Meswar for his leading the events committee to involve the younger people. Which leads me to why I'm stepping down and how I want to work with the town in the future. One of my big observations is, and we're all aware of this, that towns in the Berkshires, and small towns in general, are faced with aging populations. They're faced with aging infrastructure and shrinking school enrollments. And these factors are really, many towns in Massachusetts are headed toward being a ghost town. What's missing is growth. And as Joe mentioned, that very many people in Adams are struggling to pay their taxes. And so what's necessary is we've got to grow the town, and the biggest opportunity we have is housing. Housing is a huge shortfall. And roughly 2/3 of the area of downtown Adams is either vacant or severely underutilized. And there's an opportunity in Adams, because Adams now is a very attractive place to live. Since COVID, people want to take advantage of the hiking trails. They want to take advantage of the art galleries and everything that North Berkshire has to offer, but there's no place for them to come to live, actually. And so Adams, unlike a lot of these other towns which are disappearing, has a real opportunity in front of it. So I really want to devote my efforts to a project that we just officially call Adams 250. In 4 years, Adams will be 250 years old. And the future of Adams is very much dependent on getting more younger people, building housing so that people from the older people who have to maintain these big houses, a lot of them don't have any place to move to downsize to. And so by building more housing units downtown, there'd be a place for them to do that. So it's going to take a public-private effort to do this. We're talking between 200 and 500 housing units that could possibly be built, and that's going to require significant investment and planning. And so I really want to help spearhead that effort and put a team together to do that. Right now, it's purely in the discussion phases. But now that the town is fairly stable, if we don't do something, the call is to really grow the town. And that's where I feel that my skills can be better used. And I want to just point out that I learned a lot about the complexity of running a town. I was very naive about it, and I see that a lot of people, it'd be great if more people in the community could appreciate the value of what's been done with their tax dollars. And to that end, I'm really recommending, along with a lot of the new candidates are running, the importance of putting in a good communication program so that the public is aware of what's happening. And that's critical, because people's perception drives their behavior. And if they don't know what's going on and they see their tax bills, they can assume something's not right. And with over 50, 70 miles of roads, with $200,000 to maintain them, and all they see is the roads, and they don't really understand the complexity and the bigger picture of the limited tax base. Long story short, the future of Adams is growth, and I want to help in that area. So thank you all for supporting me, and I want you all to lend your support to the next regime that comes in on May 6th. It's May 6th, right?
Yes, Monday, May 6th.
So thank you all.
Thank you, Howard. Appreciate it.
May I say something? Yep, thank you for serving the community. It's very important, and when you run for public office, you put yourself out there, and it's tough, because you have people that like you, you have detractors, and so you're putting yourself out to be judged a lot of times, and that's tough to be judged. And I want to thank you for, you know, you've been very kind to me throughout your tenure, and I appreciate that very much. So best of luck to you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
And Howard, when someone like yourself offers to continue to support the community and with the skills that you have, we definitely will find something for you to do. I'm sure the board will. I've been on the board for 12 years, and there's only been a couple members that I've really respected. Definitely, you're one of them. With your just calm knowledge as you present at the board, and bring the tone down, which definitely needed to happen a few times. I definitely have respect for you and want to continue to work with you after you step down from the board. But I appreciate you running for office. As Joe says, it's not an easy thing to do, and I look forward to working together in the near future.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks again, Howard.
Okay. Thanks for giving me the time to talk.
Anytime. I'll even let you hit the gavel at the end.
Go out, so it goes bang.
So under new business, item G, member Novak asked to provide a recap of Hoosick Valley girls basketball team's visit to the State House.
Okay, thank you. Yep. On Wednesday, April 24th at 7:30, the girls basketball team boarded a Dufour bus, is helped out by the Adams Community Bank, paying for it to get the kids down to the State House. All of the 16 girls and the 3 coaches were there, which is pretty tough to do when you're dealing with high school students. But all of them were pumped to be able to go down there and to be recognized. When we arrived, the girls were greeted by Representative Barrett's chief of staff. I think her name was Christine Sullivan, and she brought the team into the State House and into, I was going to call him mayor, they call him mayor down there, but Representative Barrett's room, where he spoke to the players for a while and gave the agenda which was going to take place. The first thing was that the House happened to be in session because they were having budget talks. So the girls were brought into the House chamber and introduced, and they got a standing ovation from the representatives who were present, and I think that made them quite happy. Although some of the younger kids, the seniors and the juniors, but the younger kids on the team, they were there more for fun. Superintendent Dean came via his own vehicle, and he met up with the group in Barrett's office. And so after they were introduced and giving an ovation, the House photographer brought all of the players and coaches to the Marble Grand stairs where they were photographed, and they'll be getting pictures once the photographs are processed. And after that visit, the girls were given a tour with Christine Sullivan and Mayor Barrett, some of the interesting places within the State House. And after that, we all went back to John Barrett's office and had pizza. and everybody likes to eat, and so everybody had a chance to talk to one another. And then in the afternoon, we went to Governor Healy's office, waiting to meet with her, and in the interim, the girls were given a chance to go out on the balcony that overlooks the Boston Common in the city of Boston, and I think they liked that quite a bit. And then on re-entering from the balcony, the girls were invited into Governor Healy's office. And for those who don't know, Governor Healy was a Division I women's basketball player at Harvard, and after leaving Harvard, she spent 2 years in Europe playing basketball. There was a lively conversation there, and I think the girls were in awe of what they heard and what they saw. I think the whole trip was a great civics lesson for the kids, and you know, I don't want to say this in deference, but you know, I respect what kids do and what they you know, bring to the community. And I was a little disappointed, and I'm sorry I wrote that letter, because I guess I did something wrong, because I got tabbed for, you know, saying that you can't do it during the right to the whole group. But I was saddened when everybody decided on this board not to bring kids forward to, you know, congratulate them. And to me, I think that's something that's we lost, because I think we should cherish what children do with other people. They do things for this community, and I was saddened by that move, and that's the reason I did this, because some of the players asked, well, why didn't we come, you know, can we go into town and speak? And I didn't make any, you know, condescending things about it. I said, no, it just didn't work out that way. But in short, and I want to just lastly say that the boys team, although they lost, they were in the game for the state championship into the last 45 seconds of the game, and it was just a stroke of bad luck that they ended up losing by a couple of points. So I want to make sure that they're giving some credit for their great team. So once again, I think it was something that these kids will never forget, and I was happy that I could be part of it. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there other new business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Great, we are adjourned, go for it.